Alright guys, so today we're going to talk about adjectives, which is one of our parts of speech. What I need you to have is your adjective sheet that you were given in class and something to write with. Now remember, whenever I mark on my paper, you need to make sure you're marking on your own paper. Okay? Alright, so an adjective, they're pretty easy. They're just words that describe a noun. And we remember our nouns are people, places, things, and ideas. So any word that's describing a noun is automatically an adjective. Alright, so let's look at a couple examples. So we have an adjective generally comes before the word it describes, which is a good tip to remember. If you're looking for an adjective, it's usually going to come right before the noun it's describing. So our first sentence, we have the black cat ate a delicious fish and knocked over a dirty trash can. So we have three adjectives here. We have the word black describing cat, delicious describing fish, and dirty describing the trash can. And we have our arrows to each one. All right, now let's look at our next one. Some food you can eat, other food makes you throw up. So here we have two adjectives. We have the word some, describing food, other, also describing food. Now, notice in each of these situations, these five adjectives we looked at, the adjective came right before the noun, and that's what we're going to see most of the time. Now, let's look at our last one. These shoes make his pants look better. All right, now looking at this one, I see a couple pronouns that are actually acting like adjectives here. So I have my pronoun these, okay, and it is describing the shoes. It's telling me whose shoes they belong to. So I want everyone to go ahead and make sure they draw that arrow, just like I did. All right, same thing. We have the word his, all right, and that's describing pants. So it's telling us whose pants they are, all right. So that shows us that words that are pronouns can also sometimes act like adjectives if they're being used to describe a noun. Okay. All right, now sometimes a writer will place the adjective after the word it modifies instead of before. Okay, so we have here the house, dark and scary, was bought by the brave man. So we have these adjectives, dark and scary, all right, describing the house, which comes before them. All right. At the end of that sentence, we have a normal adjective, the brave man, with brave coming before man. Okay. Now our next one, the house is dark and scary. Same thing. We have those dark and scary adjectives coming behind house. And you'll see that a lot with linking verbs, like the is there. They connect the noun to the adjectives that are describing the noun. So a lot of times when we see a linking verb, we'll have adjectives at the end of the sentence that are describing a noun at the beginning of the sentence. All right, now, there's one special type of adjective that y'all keep asking me about, actually, and these are called articles. And there's only three words in the whole English language that are articles, and that's a, and the. Okay? Whenever you see one of those words showing up before a noun, they're acting as an adjective. They're telling us whether it's, the school or just a school. Okay, so it lets us know whether it's a specific place or just, that place in general. Okay, so let's look at our example. The small bush was destroyed by a fire. So I see the here, okay, and it is describing the bush. It's telling me that it's that specific bush. All right, and then we have a describing the fire. Now, articles will always come before their noun. Okay, you will not ever see them after the noun like we can sometimes see with other adjectives. Now, we do have a normal adjective in here, small, also describing bush. So you notice sometimes that small, right, that the adjective can come in between the article and noun. All right, now let's do a little practice. I've got our first one for us already done. So we have the team of 7 players played for a big championship, okay, and we have a couple adjectives here. We have 7, all right, describing players, tells us how many, and big describing championship. So what I want y'all to do now is I want you to go ahead and draw arrows from your adjectives, okay, to the nouns they modify. It also says to underline the nouns and circle your adjectives, okay? So I want everyone to go ahead and do that. I'll give you a few seconds to complete that. So take this time in the video while I'm not talking to work on that, and then we'll come back and check it. All right, so you've had a little bit of time to work on that, so let's go over it. All right, so let's look at number 2. Some disgusting food was served to the angry students when the class went to lunch. All right, so I see a lot of adjectives and nouns in here. So let's start with underlining my nouns, okay, and then I'll see if I have any adjectives describing them. So let's see. I see food, that's a thing, so that's a noun. I see students, those are people. The class, group of people, and lunch, the place where they're going. All right, so I'm going to look and see if I have any adjectives describing these nouns. So, some disgusting food. So I'm going to say that both of those are adjectives. Disgusting tells us what the food is like. Some tells us how much of it we have. So I'm going to draw an arrow from both of my adjectives to that noun. And make sure on your paper you're correcting it if you got it wrong. All right, now I have the angry students. Students was my noun. So I have an article, so I know right away I need to pick that one because that's an adjective. And I have angry, just telling me how those students are feeling. So I've got another adjective. All right, now class, I see I have another article here, the. I'm going to draw my arrow. All right, and then nothing before lunch. So we don't have any adjectives describing that one. But notice it's a good strategy when you're looking for adjectives to find your nouns and then look and see if there are any words describing those nouns or any articles for them. All right, so let's do the same thing with number 3. The great basketball player lifted the shiny golden trophy above his head while the happy audience cheered his accomplishments. Lots of words in there. All right, so let's find our nouns first to make this a little easier. So I have the player, that's a person. All right, he's lifting up the trophy, which is a thing. His head, it's part of him. The audience, those are people. And then his accomplishments, those are things. All right, so let's look for my adjectives. I have the great basketball player. Wow, okay, so I have an article, the. I have great, an adjective telling us what kind of player he was. And basketball, that tells us what he's playing. That's a lot of adjectives, so I'm just going to circle all of them and draw an arrow from them to player. So I know they're all describing that. And that's kind of a messy here, but you get what it's supposed to say. All right, let's look at our next one. Trophy. So I have an article, the, so I know that's one of my adjectives. And then I've got 2 words describing what the trophy looks like, shiny and golden. So once again, I got 3 adjectives describing that trophy. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to circle them. So I only have to draw 1 arrow. All right, now head. I got one of those pronouns that's acting like an adjective, his. I'm going to draw an arrow from his to head. It tells me whose head it is. All right, my next one is audience. So I see an article, the. I'm going to draw a big long arrow there. And then they also tell me what kind of audience it is. It's a happy audience. I'm going to draw another arrow. All right, last noun, accomplishments. I just have his here. It's telling me whose accomplishments they are. All right, let's look at number 4. After the beautiful choir had sung, the other musicians packed up their instruments. So same thing, I'm going to look for my nouns first. So let's see, I have choir. It's a group of people. Musicians, those are people. And they're packing up their instruments, which are things. So those are all my nouns. All right, so let's see what I have describing these nouns. So choir, I have the and beautiful. Remember my articles, like a and the, will always be adjectives, so you always want to pick those. All right, then I have another the for musicians, and then an adjective other. Okay, it's telling me what musicians they were, the other ones. All right, and then packed up their instruments. So there is telling me whose instruments they are, so it's going to be an adjective describing instruments. I'm going to draw another arrow there. All right, now let's take a look at 5 through 7. So go ahead and flip your page back over. All right, number 5, I have the dirt road was bumpy and dusty, but the travelers drove until a small brown rabbit appeared in their path. All right, so same thing, I'm going to find my nouns. So I have road, travelers, those are people, rabbit, and path. All right, so I see articles. So right away, let's just mark all my articles. We have the road, the travelers, A rabbit. All right, now let's go ahead and look at, sorry, Mr. Norry just interrupted me. Let's go ahead and look at a few more adjectives we have here, and this one's going to be a little bit tricky. So for road, we have dirt, and we have bumpy and dusty. So all those are describing road, okay? Then travelers, we already got our the. All right, we got our A for small brown rabbit, but we got to circle small and brown, describe the rabbit. For there, we got another one of those pronouns describing a noun. All right, let's look at number 6. So going through these a little bit more quickly, we have broken, describing clock. We have an article the, describing our clock, and strange sounds. And then number 7, we have an article the for house. It's pretty in blue. You got to be careful looking for those adjectives that come after the noun. All right, and then 7 members. You could say the and city, describing the council. All right, and that's it. So make sure you've corrected all of the ones on your paper so they look like mine. All right, now let's go ahead and look at your independent practice. So first thing I want you to do, you have this set of words. I want you to make me a list of nouns and adjectives. All of them are going to go in one of those lists, okay? And then going on your next page, so flip it over, don't forget about this page, you're going to do the same thing we've been doing. Draw an arrow from your adjective to your noun, all right? And then you're going to write 3 adjectives to describe each of those nouns. We'll go over this in class tomorrow and do some more practice. Make sure you save any questions you have for me tomorrow.